Good evening, everyone. Onegaishimasu. This morning, let me begin my reading Shokushu number 19, which is entitled Willpower. The focused willpower penetrates even stone. This naturally arising state of mind silences even the storm and thunder. Where does this state of mind come from? The person who accomplishes important tasks understands this power from experience. When we calm the waves of our mind, from molecules to atoms to electrons, we experience our great willpower, which is universal willpower. Today I'm going to address Toi Sensei's phrase, practice is not about how long you train, but about how intensely you train. Some of you often suggest ideas of subjects I might address during these classes, and I appreciate that. Please continue to do so. However, let me remind you that whether I pick the phrase of Koichi Toi Sensei's or something that Shinichi Sensei has taught, or something that I myself have addressed in the past, but this is not really the point. No matter what subject I present or suggest or quote from, I'm always teaching exactly the same thing. Shugyo practice. In other words, our practice is to be intensely present in the moment, no matter what. That's our practice. Whether we're in the dojo or outside of the dojo, it doesn't make any difference. So that's the kind of intensity that Toi Sensei is talking about here. He's talking about the intensity of how we use our mind, not the intensity of how we use our body. Mind leads body. If the mind is intense, the body use is intense. If the mind is not intense, no matter how intense we try to make the body action, it only becomes tension and torture and exhaustion and does not lead to awakening. So, it's taken me many, many years to even be able to understand this, let alone say it to anyone. In the early days, we were all going for body intensity. The deal was it was competitive. We were all fighting each other to see who could do the longest meditation, the longest Sokushin no Gyo. Yell for 1 hour, never mind if your throat bleeds, it doesn't matter, right? Sitting for an hour while the teacher taught and then getting up and dashing up to attack him, even though you have no blood circulation or feeling in your legs. This is idiocy, folks. This is not intensity. So, and I hear people say, well, if I only had the kind of training you had in the old days, then, we'd be really developed too. No, that's not true. Our true development didn't begin until quite recently, actually, within the last 20 years. The first 30 years of my training was slogging through my physical body, destroying different aspects of it, which now I suffer from, and not getting anywhere. But I did stay with it. I did have the insight and willpower. Well, maybe it was stubbornness, but I stayed with it. And because I stayed with it, then I was able to begin to understand. Sometimes people ask me, well, how come you became Eighth Dawn? Well, I'd always tell them, well, it's because I'm the last man standing. And in a sense, that's true. He didn't have any choice but to give me this rank and give me these responsibilities because everybody else gave up, for the most part, in my age range. Remember, I'm 10 years older than Kashiwaya Sensei or Shaner Sensei or Tabata Sensei, these other guys that were So I had other peers that you don't know about because they're gone. Because of that kind of training, it didn't lead to an awakening for them. I think it's really important to understand the nature of intensity, true intensity that gives us true insight into our practice and really develops us so that we can be better human beings meaning more altruistic, filled with loving kindness, feeling equal with everyone, not superior, not inferior. So when we talk about the practicality, let's just say, of intense training, putting ourselves in the position, the key is always showing up. The 4 elements of practice, the first one is always show up. If we're not present, then there's nothing that we're going to get to experience. Now, of course, showing up means come to every class, come to every seminar, come to every workshop, come to every Aikido activity, come to everything that you can possibly attend, so that you're always present for what might take place for you, within you. And that's from a relative point of view, going to class or not going to class, physical movement, getting yourself to the dojo. But on a more esoteric level, showing up means showing up in every moment. This is Shugyo practice. So the real intensity of our practice is about showing up in this moment, being present, number 1. Listening, being open, number 2. Following everything without hesitation and without distraction, number 3. And number 4, accepting whatever happened and moving on to the next moment, not dwelling on the past, not looking to the future. No matter how insignificant we think the moment might be, no matter how important we think the next moment might be, we still must develop the willpower and insight to remain present in this moment. It's very difficult to do. This is true mind use. Staying present here, listening, watching, following. This is following the way of the universe. Okay, so we practice this way whether we're doing a class like this, listening to the teacher give a lecture, or whether we're doing key breathing or key meditation, or mind-body meditation, whether we're cutting bokken, whether we're picking up the bokken or cutting with the bokken, whether we're opening the car door or driving the car, whether we're greeting someone or listening and interacting with someone, bowing in on the mat or bowing out of the mat. It's always this moment, because this is the only moment there is. Everything else is imagined. The past is remembered. The future is imagined. Everything is thinking about, is as opposed to being present, which is just paying attention, just being in a state of attention. This is the intensity of our training. Okay, let's do some key breathing. Excuse me. somewhere in my book, the Aikido on Maui, the training manual, it says your practice must reflect the intensity of a stalking tiger. So if you ever watched a cat, maybe in your yard, if you have cats, stalk a mouse or a bird or even a cockroach, they do this with 100% attention. So that's the intensity of a stalking tiger. But let me just give you one other example. I'm thinking of it. That maybe explains what I'm trying to say about the nature of true intensity. A mountain and a valley exist in opposites. They are opposites to us. One is very low, one is very high, right? But in fact, one cannot exist without the other, right? A mountain begins in the valley and is there because of the valley. Without the valley, the mountain isn't a mountain. And vice versa. The valley cannot exist unless there's a mountain. Otherwise, it's a flat plain. So just like German and American, male and female, these opposites exist only because of each other. They rely for the reality completely on the other. We are all interdependent. So when we meet anything in this life in the moment, when we recognize this with an abundance of, insight, then, okay, we're completely aware and completely present and not being distracted by difference. Just like in meditation, our intensity is most when we're not distracted by thoughts, by troubles, disturbances, negativity, worry, stress. Intensity is very calm and very quiet. Okay, so please, if you have any comments about intensity that you'd like to share, or any questions, please speak up. I can't see most of you, so people say, well, I had my hand up. Well, I have a speaker view, so I can only see you when you're talking. So speak, and I will see you.
Good morning, Sensei.
Good morning, Carlos.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so many questions related to this particular topic. I think of intensity kind of like the sharpness of a blade, or something like that. And there's also dullness, right? And so it's like the dullness doesn't seem to just be there because of thought. So it's like there's something else going on, right? When life or my experience of life feels, is kind of lacking that intensity in the moment. And so I was wondering, it's like that you mentioned at the end, the four principles of our practice. And so showing up and doing that over and over seems to have something to do, of course, with this intensity and being there, not only in case something happens, but the act of engaging, involving over and over and over seems to have something to do with this kind of sharpening, intensifying the experience. I'm still, it's not real clear to me. So I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Well, okay, yes. Tell me precisely what is not clear.
Why there's dullness in my life. Yeah. Like why the experience of life goes, sometimes there is a degree of intensity, but then sometimes it's just, like blah, like, there's just this, and it's like, yeah.
Excuse me, Tori Sensei says, let's put only plus thoughts in our subconscious mind. So, that's a hard thing to really grasp. But I think it's important to recognize that we're always practicing in every moment something. Whatever it is we're practicing, we will be doing more of it tomorrow. Whatever we're putting, however we're interpreting what we see, whatever judgments or assumptions that we are allowing ourselves to not just make, let's say, or in the immediate perception of it, but to feed and encapsulate in story and make our own. That's really what we're doing with our life. As we react to it, we build a story, a drama about it. And that drama is what we remember, not the actual experience, but the story we tell ourselves about it. So when we tell someone else how someone treated us, we tell them the story. And we might be exhibiting emotion while we do it, but it's not the emotion that we felt at the moment. We are exhibiting the story around the reaction to the emotion we felt. Okay, so all of this means we're not practicing intensity. We're in dullness. But we're in dullness and we will be in more of it tomorrow. So practicing right in the moment with intensity means emptiness. Means just listening to whatever's happening, not necessarily to a person or to music, but to the river or to the birds or to just seeing the bookshelf for what it actually contains and is. Not just the meaning of it, but the feeling of that to us. What is that? So if we're doing this, we have clear intensity, clarity and calmness in our intensity, in our life, moment to moment. But, of course we find ourselves sometimes momentarily nonplussed, kind of in a netherworld of you call dullness, or boringness, and not sure what's going on. So we're paying attention. This happens to us in meditation. We're often wake up and go, oh, what have I been doing? I'm supposed to be meditating here. I want to be meditating here. Well, what is meditating? See, what is intensity? It's none of the other. It's just accepting this for what it is. Right? So those four levels of practice, 4 elements: showing up, opening, following, and accepting. And boom, we are right in it and completely intense. It's just a practice. It's not a talk about practice. Of course, I do my best to explain, but it's we have to do it in every moment. We think of intensity as when I go to the dojo, I will practice intensely. That's what Toi Sensei is talking about. Go to the dojo and practice. Yes, please do. But that's not what it comes down to. When you're at the end of your life, let me tell you, what it comes down to is you better be doing it every moment, because you might go to the dojo for an hour or 2 out of 24. What are you doing the other 22 hours? You're building tomorrow. And if you're not building tomorrow with today, instead you're building an idea of tomorrow from the idea or a memory of yesterday, you're building tomorrow with that, then you're just going to completely bore yourself to tears in your life. So that's what I have to say about that. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Sensei.
Okay, someone else, please.
Hello, Sensei.
Hello, Vernon.
Yeah, I find that constantly looking for this relative, that like you're saying about all this conscious and unconscious and learning about these relative of the valley and the mountains come to play as the form, and as we get into building our unconscious mind to be present, awareness of that is not thinking about it, but just doing that presence, being in that moment. I guess the practice is hard to explain as we go through the steps, but not the thinking of it, but just being there and aware of every single reaction
Yes.
that we have in our subconscious mind, that we do it automatically.
Yes, it's like impossible to explain or point to because it's the opposite of everything else. Or it's the absence of everything else. It's what everything else isn't, is what practice is. Practice is not everything. It's this, which is only this. It's not a something that we can say, well, it's looking at Vernon's face, or holding my hands on my towel, or itching my ear, or thinking pure thoughts, or there isn't, even no matter how esoteric you get, you're not there yet. You cannot actually say what practice is. So a word like intensity has really a variety of meanings to people depending on their level of development and what they depend upon for a sense of success and satisfaction in their life. If you have to climb a mountain physically to feel achieved, then you're not going to understand what practice is. You're just not. But if you understand that nothing is required to be completely intense in your practice in this moment, then okay.
Yeah, thank you, Sensei.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's a lot. So just keep going to the dojo, everybody, please. And keep coming to classes. Keep coming to this class. Every opportunity you have. You know, like for instance, I put out an opportunity to spend 30 minutes talking with me to both the white people and the European people and some other, people on Zoom. So I get very few, actually, people who want to do that, and or how do you say, up for that. Maybe they want to do it, but then, like one person told me, well, I don't want to waste your time with myself. Wow. What must that person think of themselves? You don't waste my time, no matter who you are. So every opportunity, when it comes along, you're not too expert to take it, and you're not too much of a beginner to take it. A true expert has beginner's mind, and a true beginner sees nothing but opportunity. So let's train together intensely. Arigato gozaimashita. Thank you very much.